I think that is a pretty common view.
You know how there are all these articles about like Trump's psychology? We should do like inside the mind of a liberal to analyze and diagnose whether they believe it, like you were saying, Glenn, or they're just cynical. We should get tons of psychiatrists to write op-eds about it.
That would be interesting.
I would actually feel more comfortable if liberals didn't believe that, if like they were being cynical about it as an election motivating strategy. But that's what I'm saying. Listen to Ben Rhodes or listen to Susan Rice or listen to Kamala about Russia and about white supremacist terrorism, and you will not have any doubts that they are true believers in those propositions.
I don't think Kamala is, just because I don't think she's a true believer in anything. But those other two I see.
She definitely believes in the use of law enforcement to punish people she thinks deserve punishment.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Right.
I agree she believes in very little, but that I do believe she believes.
You went on Tucker's Carlson show to talk about the possibility of using a pardon, and you caught a ton of flack for it. Can you walk us through your thought process on going on the show and what potential benefit there might be to doing a broadcast like that?
So in 30 seconds, the president could pardon Julian Assange right now and end this. Is that correct?
He could pardon him and Edward Snowden, and there's widespread support across the political spectrum on both the right and the left for doing both. It would be politically advantageous for the president. The only people who would be angry would be Susan Rice, John Brennan, Jim Comey, and James Clapper, because they're the ones who both of them exposed.
So, Donald Trump kind of on his own raised the possibility of a pardon of Edward Snowden about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and then was asked about it a second time and even was stronger about the possibility that he would. And then since then, it's kind of become clear why, which are people that have Trump's ear, like Rand Paul and Congressman Matt Gaetz, have been advocating for a pardon of Snowden on the grounds that he exposed what they consider to be the deep state spying apparatus that has been used against domestic opponents for abusive political ends, including during the 2016 campaign. So Edward Snowden is my source, as we just heard in that orgy of self-righteous sanctimony in the wake of the Ben Smith article. The highest duty of a journalist is to protect their source. Edward Snowden is my source. And so the opportunity to liberate him from exile, where he's been for 7 years in Russia, and to make sure he doesn't spend the rest of his life imprisoned in one country, but can actually leave that country and freely travel the world, including coming back eventually to the United States, which is his home, is a very important goal of mine, professionally, ethically, and morally. He's not just my source, but also my friend. I care about that goal. I want that to happen. And on top of that, there are people on the right who also think that the prosecution of Julian Assange is unjust. So I had actually, once Trump raised the possibility of pardoning Edward Snowden, I was thinking about how I could help make that happen. And I spoke to some people who are close to Trump. But I also know that going on Fox, the shows that Trump watches, and that means Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson show in particular, is a really effective way of speaking directly to the one person who holds the power of the pardon, which is the president. People have successfully gone on those shows and advocated for pardons in the past. And so aside from what the three of us discussed the last time I was on your show about the obvious merit of being able to speak to 4 million people, which is the size of Tucker's audience, the biggest audience in cable by far, as opposed to deciding that you're not going to talk to them, you're going to purposely ignore them. Leaving aside that broad general proposition that I still believe in, I think it's my ethical duty to do what I can to end injustices in the world, such as the injustice of Edward Snowden being trapped in one country for having exposed things that Americans have the right to know, and the injustice of Julian Assange being prosecuted and extradited to the United States on espionage charges for revealing war crimes about the United States. And so when somebody offers me an opportunity to end an injustice and to make the world more just, I'm going to do that. And it's not even a close debate for me. I care a lot more about outcomes, about actually having my beliefs manifest as change in the world, than I care about preening and posturing for the approval of LARPing online liberals. So yeah, I could have said no to going on Tucker and said to Snowden, go fuck yourself. Sorry, you're just going to have to spend, the rest of your life in Russia. I have the opportunity to try and help convince the person who can pardon you, but I'm going to deny that opportunity because I don't want to get my hands dirty, or I don't want liberals who never accomplish anything in their lives to criticize me on Twitter. But obviously the ability to achieve outcomes, which is supposed to be the purpose of journalism and politics, not to create a self-image of yourself or to posture and gesture as something that you pretend
And
to be
virtue
online.
signal.
Yeah, or to cosplay or virtue signal, but to actually have an effect on the world, which sometimes means being pragmatic and strategic and doing things that you might not otherwise want to do. To me, that's a much more important priority than, impressing a bunch of Twitter warriors. So for me, I was thrilled for the opportunity to have 3 minutes to talk directly to the president to make the case about why he should pardon both Edward Snowden and Julian Assange.
Also, I mean, I tweeted about this jokingly. Some people didn't get it, but you refuse to go. You refuse the countless offers from CNN and MSNBC, right, to go on their shows.